Hi, my name is Andrea Byrne, and this is a portrait of my late mother, Norma Andrea Dale, who grew up in Tennessee. She was born in 1929, and this portrait is very special in our family because my paternal grandmother painted it. Her name was Grace Jackson, and she was a portrait artist in Atlanta, a society portrait artist. And as you can see, my mother was a real Southern belle. And the story goes that my mother happened to be singing in the choir stalls and was so beautiful that my grandmother just felt she had to paint her portrait. So my mother began going for sittings at my grandparents' home in Decatur, Georgia. I'll have to say that my mother was a student at a college in Decatur, Georgia at that time, and went to the same church as my grandparents. So my grandmother allegedly saw my mother singing in the choir and was so taken by her beauty she wanted to paint her. And of course my mother was very flattered. So my mum began sitting for the portrait, and my father was home from World War II at that time, just out of the US Navy, kicking his heels at home. And the story goes that he was so taken with this beautiful girl in the portrait his mother was painting that he started hanging around my grandmother's artist studio to see how the painting was progressing. And he fell in love with the girl with the dark eyes and dark hair in the portrait before he really fell in love with my mother. And my mother kept a diary from 1947 to 1951. And in this diary, she writes about sitting for this portrait. And she had met my father a few times and had a couple of dates with him. But it was really the portrait that drew them together, because as it neared completion, my dad started sitting in to watch his mother paint this beautiful girl. And they fell in love and they married in June 1951. But just before they married, a local Atlanta newspaper heard about this painting and wrote up an article about it. And here it is. It's a bit tatty, I'm afraid, because it's very old. But here are my parents, and here is the portrait. And it reads, "Dark beauty in white. Artist picks wife for son." Which is sweet, isn't it? It's funny. So we've got this documented in the diary. And here we have the portrait, which has been in my family all of my life. It does need repairing. It has a lot of crackling on it and a few tears, and it needs a good clean as well. But my hope is to have it restored so that I can pass it on down to our children and hopefully their children, so that they have this lovely portrait in their home of their grandmother and great grandmother one day. And I think my mum would be thrilled to know that her portrait will live on a bit longer. It is nearly 70 years old. So I would love to see it restored so that I know we'll have it for a long time to come.